Hello and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. And if you're thinking, oh, it looks like you've been crying, Lauren, it's because I have been crying. David's been watching Saving Mr. Banks. I've come in for the last 10 minutes. I've been in bits. I've only ever seen it once before. We saw it in the cinema, didn't we, Pooh? Yeah. And loved it. And now just watched just the end of it.
It's my favourite non-animated Disney
It's David's
film.
David's favourite non-animated Disney film. Oh God, and I wasn't even like crying a little bit. It was like proper water, like. But yes, anyway, very good. But today I'm going to be talking about audiobooks. So I thought I would do a video on audiobooks. I've split this video into 4 sections. First, like where and how and when I listen to audiobooks. Second section is like my favourite audiobooks. Third is what I've recently been listening to, and fourth is what I'm going to be listening to. And I thought it would be a good idea to have a chat about this. I feel like I've done this in the past, but this is the first one I've actually put a bit of effort into it. And just to chat about some things that I enjoy about audiobooks, how I do it, etc. And also a good chance for us to share in the comments further audiobooks that you feel like I might enjoy or others might enjoy, and we can just have a little chat about it down there. So let's start as we do. So there's 3 main places of which I listen to my audiobooks. The first one is in the car. That's probably when I get most of my audiobook listening done. So I have a 40-minute drive to work. In the morning I listen to podcasts, and on the way home I listen to audiobooks. I listen to it, I use my phone to listen to audiobooks. I use Audible, which I find very, very helpful, and this is what Audible looks like. And I just plug this into my car for a USB, and it plays through the car speakers, and I listen to like 40 minutes a day, probably more sometimes. If there's traffic or anything like that, it can be anything like from an hour onwards, really. So yeah, that's the main place where I listen to. So at least once a day I'll be listening to at the very least 40 minutes of an audiobook. I also listen before I go to sleep. So when I'm listening before I go to sleep, I put it on they've got a sleep timer, the options for the sleep timer are 8 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, or the end of the chapter, which is all very helpful. I normally go for 8 minutes because, to be honest, as soon as it starts playing, it just sort of relaxes me, and I feel like I fall asleep really quickly, so I always put 8 minutes on. But for that, I just listen, like, through the phone. David doesn't mind. You quite enjoy it, don't you, sometimes? Depends on what it is. So, but yeah, I always listen to it every night as well. And then the last place that I listen to it, and this is sort of like very broad, I listen to audiobooks when I'm cooking, walking, tidying, anything that I don't need full concentration for. I can use my hands. Anything I want to use my hands for, I'm listening to on headphones. So the headphones that I've listened to have recently been sent to me. Look how cool I look. I do feel like I look really cool in them. These are from Sudio, Sweden. They contacted me. Ow! They contacted me and asked me if they could send me a wireless pair of Bluetooth speakers. And I obviously leapt at the chance. And they said, would I show them on Instagram? And if I enjoyed them, would I show them on my channel? Well, I do enjoy them, and I've been using them a lot to listen to audiobooks. They've been kind enough to give me a 15% off voucher, a 15% off discount code, which is Lauren and the Books 15. I will link that down below along with their details. But yeah, so anything that I'm doing, so here they go to here. They look very trendy. I've also got different, I haven't changed those yet. I've got like a marble effect to go on here if I want to look super trendy. These aren't on properly, but I'm leaving them on for the purposes. So anything I'm using my hands for that I need sort of like hand use and can't be reading, I listen to these. So like I said, cooking, I really, really enjoy listening to audiobooks when I'm cooking. It really just relaxes me. I love cooking anyway, and it's a really good way of relaxing. I'll put them down here. Really, really good way of relaxing. But listening to audiobooks really helps me with that. And tidying, sometimes what I do, if I'm listening to a book that's got quite short chapters, I'll be like, oh, I'll do a chapter tidy in the bedroom, then I'll do a chapter clean in the bathroom, then I'll do a chapter clean in the kitchen. And then some mornings, at the moment, David's got the new FIFA. He's barely spoken to me. He hasn't actually been on the new FIFA too much. But some mornings David's playing FIFA, like on a Sunday morning, for example, and I'll sit here in my comfy chair. I've got a little stool, I put my feet up, I put my headphones on, and I listen to an hour of audiobook and do my cross stitch, which is really, really fun and exciting. So yeah, those are the places that I listen to audiobooks. And yeah, I wanted to mention these headphones just because I've been enjoying them so much, and I just feel like they look super cool. They've got really good sound quality. The charge on them is amazing. They last a really, really long time, and the range on them is quite good as well. So I know most people would carry their phone with them, which is where the Bluetooth is too. But I've been sort of like leaving mine on the table in the lounge, and yeah, been able to walk all over the flat with them. My vast sprawling flat. So now I thought I would go on to talk about some of my favourite audiobooks. So obviously it wouldn't be a booktube video from myself if I didn't mention the Harry Potter series. So I now own the whole Harry Potter series on Audible, which I very much enjoy. Oh, I've got my hair all caught up in my ear in there. They are narrated by Stephen Fry. They're amazing. Some of them are like 28 hours. So you get a big bang for your buck for 28 hours worth. And I use the, on Audible, I subscribe to 1 credit a month. And I've sort of gradually been collating those, which is really, really lovely. And I love those so much. They're like some of David's favourites as well when I'm listening to them as I'm going to bed. In line, similar to that, I've also been listening to His Dark Materials, which is a children's book. I'm sure you've heard His Dark Materials, which is a children's book series. These are narrated by Philip Pullman, who is the author, but they're done like a radio play, so they've got different voices for different characters, which is amazing and wonderful and really brings the book to life. So I've loved listening to those. Absolutely love listening to those. And I will definitely re-listen to it. Like the Harry Potter and His Dark Materials are ones that I will just have forever and just listen to forever because they're just such a delight. And then one of my favourite audiobooks of all time that I mention constantly is a book called A Year of Living Danishly by Helen Russell. This is... there's a wasp in here, David! He's over there. This is Helen Russell's account of when her and her husband moved to Denmark for a year. He is landed over there. He gets a job working for Legoland, and they move to rural Jutland in Denmark. And it's just split up so wonderfully. So it's split into months. So the first month is all about hygge, which is a massive thing that's taken over. There's months like in the summer talking about where Danish people go on their holidays. There's a month where she's trying to get pregnant and they talk about the healthcare system in Denmark. I loved this book and I'm going to re-listen to it in November because it's Nonfiction November, and I haven't re-listened to it the whole way through. It's got a Christmas chapter, which obviously I loved, and last December I re-listened to... Oh, it's gone up there. The Christmas chapter and the hygge chapter just on the run up to Christmas, but really, really love this. And I'll be honest, like, a lot of people have now listened to it and read it, and I don't feel like I know anyone that hasn't enjoyed it. It's just really, really been enjoyable. You probably need a bit of paper to go under that, David.
That's right. Once he flies in here, you're right. So, you carry on.
Yeah, sorry about this mid-wasp thing. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is recent listens. So things that the last 3 audiobooks that I've listened to. So I'm currently listening to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. But I've also listened to Cheer Up Love by Susan Cowman, which is an account of... Susan Cowman is a comedian from Glasgow in Scotland, and she talks about her battle with depression, or as she calls her crab of hate, I think it's called. The crab of hate, that's what she calls her depression. Really, really good. I love audiobooks narrated by the author. I just feel like it adds so much more dimension and enjoyment to them, and it really means more to me when I'm listening to an audiobook which is narrated by the author. So yeah, really love that. Really uplifting account of someone's battle with depression, and loads of helpful tips and tricks and things to... David, I think you're just winding that wasp up. The wasp is gone! We paused it for a while, but the wasp was gone. The next one I want to talk about that I've listened to is How Not to Be a Boy by Robert Webb. Again, a book narrated by the author, and this is Robert Webb, who is also a comedian from the UK. It is his account of being brought up in the 70s and what it's like to be a man, and all to do with gender, which is stuff that I just love. One that I haven't really mentioned in here, another one that I love, I should have really... One of my favourites is... Girls Will Be Girls by Emer O'Toole. That's another amazing account of gender, and I loved this Robert Webb book just in terms of its honesty and how funny it was, and also how sad it was, and just everything all about it. I adored it and really, really loved it. And then just before that, I listened to as you can tell, I listened to quite a lot of non-fiction, which I really do enjoy. But one of the fiction books that I'd listened to recently that my sister had read the book of is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This is a YA book about the biggest disaster in maritime history, when the Wilhelm Gustloff, it's a ship that had lots of refugees on, sank. And this is told from 4 young people's perspectives, and in a similar way that His Dark Materials book was done, it had 4 different people narrating each different character, which I really, really enjoyed. And again, just adds like a sort of extra storytelling dimension to that audiobook, which I really, really enjoyed. I gave that 3 stars, I believe. But yeah, really, really enjoyed that too. So what I'm going to be listening to soon. So I've had a little look through things that I'm looking forward to listening to and any pre-orders there are, and I picked 3. The first one, so Nonfiction November, is something that happens on BookTube, where we choose non-fiction books to read through the month of November, and one that I bought my friend for her birthday, or it might even have been my friend Emma when we did a video on this channel. I bought her a book called Eat, Sweat, Play, How Sport Can Change Our Lives by Anna Castle. I want to listen to the audiobook of that. Somebody mentioned it, one of my subscribers mentioned it in a comment and said how much she'd been enjoying it, and it's something that I'd been meaning to get round to. It's about sport and how it affects your lives, as the title would suggest, and women in particular, and how to get people back into sport. And I just feel like this is going to be something that I'm really going to enjoy. As I said, narrated by the author, and I'm really looking forward to listening to that in November. The next one is one that I'm going to be listening to in December, and it is one that I've read before. So The Christmasaurus by Tom Fletcher is a children's book written by Tom Fletcher, who's in McFly. Down, now, 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 now. That wasn't probably the best McFly song to pick, but I went for a guitar chord. He has written a book about a young chap called William Trundle who befriends a Christmasaurus. I read it last year, absolutely adored it. The illustrations are wonderful, but I remember Jen Campbell, saying to me that she'd listened to the audiobook and it was wonderful. So I feel like I'm going to be rereading that anyway. We're reading it for one of my book clubs this year for our Christmas pick. So I thought it'd be a great time to listen to the audio of it. It is narrated by Paul Shelley, who isn't somebody I'm familiar with, but I've heard it's very, very good. And the last one is one that I've got on my pre-order list. I don't often put them on a pre-order list, but this one is. So this is Artemis by Andy Weir. Now, Andy Weir is the chap who wrote The Martian, and The Martian is the first ever audiobook I ever listened to. And I really, really enjoyed the audiobook of it. It's told by one chap the whole way through, and he does all the voices and different dialects for different people, and really, really loved it. This is narrated by Rosario Dawson, who is an actress, an American actress, and I'm very much looking forward to getting back into Andy Weir. I really enjoyed The Martian, and I feel like Artemis I feel very excited about too, and the fact that it's narrated by Rosario Dawson, who's someone I'm very fond of, I feel very excited about. So those are the books that I've listened to, my favourites, some that I'm looking forward to, and the ways in which I listen to audiobooks. Would love to hear down below some audiobooks that you guys have listened to and have loved. Ones that you haven't enjoyed. I'm always willing to hear about things that people haven't enjoyed, to maybe steer clear of them and things. But just would love to hear some of your recommendations and places in which you listen to audiobooks and things like that. As I mentioned before, the headphone discount code, if you want to use it, is down below. It's Lauren and the Books 15. You get 15% off. And I will see you all again soon for another BookTube video. That's gone so quick with all that wasp business in the middle. See you soon. Bye!